Rain, never stopping, hard rain. It painted the twisting streets of Kathmandu grey and black. Detective Rai, collar turned up, cigarette hanging from his lips, walked these streets like a ghost. But his eyes were sharp, bright with the city's neon lights. They'd seen too much, the bad parts of the city, the secrets hidden just out of sight. Tonight, another secret waited for him, another case that would mark him forever. A new case, a whispered name, a life ended too soon. Kathmandu, a city where shadows kept secrets and whispered promises of darkness. The Golden Lotus, a nightclub where secrets were bought and sold like cheap things. Rai walked in, the smoke moving aside for him. Sad jazz music filled the air. He saw his contact, a woman hidden in shadows, drinking something. Her dark, knowing eyes met his. "You came," she said, her voice a low whisper that sent chills down his spine. "I always do," Rai grumbled, sitting across from her. "Especially when it involves a dead man and a city full of lies." The woman leaned closer, her perfume a dangerous mix of jasmine and sadness. "He was a reporter," she began, her voice barely heard over the music, "poking around where he shouldn't." Rai took a drag of his cigarette, the burning tip glowing like an evil eye. "They say he was close to something big, something that could shake up the whole city." Her fingers shook as she lit a cigarette. "They say he had proof." Rai listened, his face showing nothing. Proof. The only real thing in a city drowning in lies. He knew the game, the dance between hunter and hunted. The trail led to the Serpent's Lair, a gambling place owned by a man called the Viper. Rai pushed through the crowd of gamblers looking around the room. The air was tense, the clicking of mahjong tiles and glasses a noisy mess. He saw the Viper, a huge man covered in jade and gold, sitting like a king in a private booth. "Viper," Rai said, his voice flat. The Viper chuckled, a sound like rocks being crushed. "Detective, what brings you to my little place?" Section 5, a city of shadows. The Viper, a man who lived in the shadows, knew more than he was saying. His eyes, cold and sharp, met Rai's. "The reporter," Rai said, getting straight to the point. "He was asking questions." The Viper's lips made a cruel smile. "This city eats up those who ask too many questions, Detective." He leaned back, still looking right at Rai. Perhaps he just got too greedy. Rai knew a threat when he heard one. Kathmandu was a dangerous game and everyone was just a piece on the board. But he wasn't just any piece, he was the knight, moving in ways no one expected. Days turned into nights as Rai followed whispers and half-lies. It led him to a quiet tea house outside the city. The air was heavy with the smell of jasmine and betrayal. A woman sat across from him, her face covered. "You knew the reporter," Rai said, his voice even. She nodded slowly, her eyes full of tears. She wasn't crying. "He trusted me," she whispered, her voice choked with sadness. "He said he had found something terrible." The smell of jasmine turned sour, a reminder that even beautiful things can hide poison. The truth, when it finally came out, was worse than Rai could have imagined. A secret plan that went all the way to the top. A web of lies made of greed and power. The reporter had found a plot that would make Kathmandu even darker. He had paid the ultimate price for finding the truth. And Rai now was the only one who could bring his killers to justice. But justice in Kathmandu was a tricky thing. It came at a cost, a price paid in blood and loss. The final fight happened on a rooftop, the city lights shining below. Rain poured down like the storm inside Rai. He faced them, the corrupt officials, the hired thugs, the people pulling the strings of the city's fall into darkness. "It ends here," Rai growled, his voice rough with anger. A gunshot broke the silence, and then everything went crazy. Dawn came over Kathmandu, painting the sky pink and gold. The storm was over, leaving a city cleaned but forever changed. Detective Rai walked away, his trench coat moving in the wind. He had won, but it didn't feel good. Justice was done, but at what cost? The shadows of Kathmandu, he knew, would always be there, a reminder of the darkness hidden underneath. The city's song of sin and forgiveness wasn't over. It just kept playing, a haunting tune that echoed in the hearts of those who dared to listen.